Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I always make a point, an opposite point, when I read an article saying that Ukraine will liberate the occupied territories. And always my point is, I don't think those people want to be liberated by you, especially. And why do I say that? Remember how everything started. I'm not going to go to 2014 when the guys overthrew and so on. I start those people in those provinces, territories that now these guys want to liberate. They broke away in the first place because they didn't recognize this kind of government. And this government was not voted. They say, it was democratically voted. Not all Ukrainians were allowed to vote in those elections. So I don't think they are. So these people who these guys want to liberate are the guys who picked arms to fight them from liberating them. So that's why I'm saying this is not a liberation. Now, let's say the Ukrainians liberate those territories, occupied territories. By whom? By Russia? Okay, let's say tomorrow, Russian army leaves. Or let's say Ukraine is able to push the Russian army to the prior borders whenever the 24th of February. Let's say there, right? So they push them back to the border where it was before 24th of February 2022. Then what? What do you think the Ukrainians will do to the people in those provinces? Now let's see how mature we are. One, they will just forgive them for fighting against them and killing them and some of their friends and all that, and being with the Russians, and forgive them, and they will forgive them, and they will hug one another, and they will become friends on the spot, and they will forget about their brothers, Russians, because they're Russians living in Ukraine basically. So is this what's going to happen? Yes. Now that would be a guy who's just living in a fantasy world where thinks that these are not glasses, these are women. Okay? And he can whatever. Okay? So let's put it that way. Now, how would we look at it from previous historical events? When they did this, and we have an example, that's the Second World War example. When the Germans invaded Soviet Union, the Wehrmacht was hailed by some Ukrainians. Yes, and the Germans living in Ukraine, that they were immigrants, German immigrants, a big number of them. They waited for the Wehrmacht with flowers. Some of them did not. Now, when these guys pushed the Soviets out, the Germans, then the Soviets pushed them back. All right? They went towards Berlin. What did the Russians, the Soviets, what did they do to the people over there? They, as many as they could, and they call them collaborators. You're collaborators, I want your house, you're a collaborator, I'm going to report you. So they killed a lot of them. Ho, ho, ho. Don't tell me those were Soviets and these are Ukrainians. Like these are angels and those are devils. No, they're human beings like you and I. All right? So if you kill my father, guess what? I'm not going to embrace you for that. Okay? You have a father? All right. Okay, and you too. So that's what happens in the world in reality. We have historical events, and that's only one example I give you. Just one. That's so many I can give you. I keep you here overnight. We can even look in the Old Testament if you want. All right? So that's one thing. The Ukrainians were, if they are able to push those guys back, or those guys just leave the Russian army, they will do what every other army did to these guys. They're going to call each and every person collaborator. And all of them collaborated because they didn't tried to push the Russians away. So they will probably go with the Russian army like they did with the German army. In the Second World War, the Soviets are coming. A lot of people fled with the front, and some people ended in America and in Western Europe because they went with the Germans until they met the Americans, the other front. I have relatives who did that, just so you know. So I know exactly, if you don't know from the books, which I know from the books as well, I know from real life as well. So a lot of these guys are going to go with the front, with the Russians in Russia. So there's going to be like an self-ethnic cleansing. Why? Because they don't want to be with these guys, because they're going to do like this. They want to be with their brothers. So then they're not liberated anything. They're not they take land. Because if you're over there and they catch you, they will do what humans do to other humans in this kind of circumstances. So we have this article from Reuters where it says that Ukraine detains collaborator village head as counteroffensive unfolds, president's office. So they detain the boss of a city who is a collaborator, who did not run with the Russians, if this is true. So what do you think is going to happen with that? This is going to be trialed and he's going to be found guilty of collaboration and all that. Okay, but then if this is collaboration, what happened in 2014 when those guys collaborated in overthrowing the elected government, legitimate democratically elected government of Yanukovych, with the help of outside forces, services, how would you call those guys? Aren't those the same as this collaborator here, who collaborated with the Russians to fight those guys out, the legitimate government and army of Ukraine? I think so. So we have here that Kiev, a senior aide from Ukraine's presidential office, posted a photo on Friday showing what he said was a detained collaborator had what he said. A lot of things will be said. You were. Do you think they will all grabbed and just trialed as these are children thoughts? They're going to be shot on the spot, some of them, and some of them will be trialed as a show trial, like one that happened some time ago. So head of the village in Kharkiv region, as Ukraine claims huge gains in the eastern province this week. The deputy head of the president's office, Kirilo Tomoshenko, posted a photo on Telegram of a Ukrainian soldier posing with a bound and blindfolded man in civilian clothes on Friday. The man's face could not be seen, blah, 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 and Tomoshenko wrote he was the head of the traitorous village administration of Ivanivka, a village of Kharkiv region previously under Russian occupation. The village appears to be blah, 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 blah. Now, tell me, what do you think is going to happen with that guy? Do you think that guy is going to be trialed? Will you follow that guy? Will we ever hear about that? Let's say his name is Tom Jones. We'll ever find about Tom Jones, what happened to Tom Jones? If he was taken, put in front, and no, he could be shot right there after the picture, and you will never know what happened with that guy. Nobody will ask a question. Where is Tom Jones? Who's going to ask? You and I. And they'll say, what Tom Jones? Oh, the one in picture. Oh, no, he was trialed, and he was, detained, trialed, charged, and then convicted, and then he was in prison somewhere. I mean, that's how they're going to tell you. You're never going to find it. Nobody's going to tell you that. Everything's going to be. Do you think the Americans are going to call the Ukrainians and say, hey, where's Tom Jones? No, they're not going to do that. So believe me, Tom Jones is in bad shape. Okay? So this is the liberation, what's going to follow. So what do you think the population that the Ukrainians are coming, what do you think they're doing? Yes, Hercules, happy, right? I think they would fight like crazy or take their peg and just going to migrate across the border, which is self-ethnic cleansing, self-ethnically cleansing themselves. So, well, we can celebrate this, but there's going to be a lot of killings over there. Remember Katyn Forest? Well, remember Katyn Forest. That's what the Soviets did to the countries they invaded. Took the intelligentsia, done, buried, poof, and that was it. So the same thing would happen with these guys. They think they're going to say, oh, okay, we forgive you, come over here. Yeah. That's what's going to be. That's going to be like the Soviet army did to the German women. That's going to happen too. Or You think that these guys are not humans and they're Ukrainians, and they will be like, yeah, I'm different. You really, if that's a fantasy world, that's Alice in Wonderland. Up is down, down is left. That's something that goes up but actually go down, and good is bad, bad is good, and these guys are perfect. They will not touch anybody. They're just never heard of this kind of fantastic. All right, so we gotta think. So what should we do? What should we do? You can say, well, those are under occupation. So I want to hear about liberation. The liberation, for me, that's what means liberation. That's what means liberation. Liberating people that don't want to be liberated by you, but you liberate me. I don't want to be liberated by you because you send me somewhere that I will never come back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.